Benita's story begins in a small but vibrant town in Nigeria, where she was born into a deeper life Bible church family. Her father, though a kind and respected man in the community, had never fully embraced the Christian faith. He would occasionally attend church on special occasions, Christmas, Easter, but he had no personal walk with God. Her mother, on the other hand, was the very definition of a devoted Christian. Mama Bonita was a committed practitioner of the 22 Bible doctrines taught in Deeper Life Bible Church. She believed in holiness within and without, separation from the world, and raising her children in the fear of God. For her, Proverbs 22 verse 6 wasn't just a verse, it was a lifestyle. From as far back as Benita could remember, her mother made sure family devotions were held morning and night. No matter how tired she was from her job as a secondary school teacher, she would still gather Benita and her siblings around the Bible, teaching them the Word and singing old gospel hymns. Sundays were sacred. The family would wake up early, dress in neat and modest attire, and head to church. Benita's earliest memories of church were filled with hymns from the Deeper Life hymn book, the gentle voice of the children's choir, and the sight of her mother lifting her hands in worship during revival services. By the age of 8, Benita's young heart was already being drawn to God. During a children's Bible study one Sunday, the teacher spoke about heaven, hell, and the need to surrender one's life to Jesus. Benita remembered feeling a heavy burden in her heart, a conviction that she needed Jesus to forgive her sins, even at such a young age. She responded to the altar call, prayed with tears in her eyes, and from that day, she became determined to live for Christ. Loss of her father and education. Life took a tragic turn when Benita was just 10 years old. Her father fell ill suddenly and passed away within a short time. His death left a gaping hole in the family, not only emotionally but also financially. Benita remembered sitting in her small bedroom that night, listening to her mother sob quietly in the living room, praying for strength. It was then she understood the resilience of her mother. Mama Bonita did not crumble under the weight of widowhood. She leaned even more on God's promises. As a secondary school teacher, she wasn't earning much, but she managed to keep food on the table and ensure all her children continued their education. Bonita grew up faster than most children her age. She learned to cook, help her younger siblings with homework, and manage the house when her mother was at work. Despite the struggles, she excelled academically. By the time she was ready to take her WAEC exams, many of her peers were succumbing to exam malpractice, but Bonita stood firm in her faith. She refused to cheat, believing that God would honor her integrity. She passed with excellent results, a testament to hard work and God's grace. Years later, after a successful JAM attempt, she was admitted into the prestigious Keat State University to study law, a dream her mother had prayed over for years. NYSC and spiritual service. After completing her university studies and attending law school, Bonita was posted to Benin City, Edo State for her National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, year. Her mother was both proud and prayerful, sending her off with words of blessing and constant reminders. Bonita, no matter where you are, remember you are first an ambassador of Christ before anything else. Bonita quickly connected with the Deeper Life Corpus Fellowship in Benin. Her dedication was unmistakable. She was punctual at meetings, actively involved in evangelism outreaches, and served with joy. She was known among fellow corps members for her modest dressing, gentle speech, and an unshakable stand for holiness. Her commitment didn't go unnoticed. She wasn't just a participant in fellowship, she was a leader by example. Whether it was leading prayer sessions, organizing outreach programs, or visiting fellow corps members in need, Bonita served with a heart of love. Many looked up to her as a model Deeper Life sister. Meeting Brother Osaze. It was during a combined state headquarters service that Bonita's path crossed with Brother Osaze. That Sunday, the church was filled to capacity. Choirs from different local branches sang in harmony, and pastor's sermon stirred many hearts. After the service, as people exchanged greetings and fellowshipped, Osaze noticed Bonita. He wasn't just drawn by her physical appearance, though she carried herself with grace, but by the way she had led a short prayer session earlier in the meeting. Her words were rooted in scripture, her tone reverent, and her faith palpable. Osaze, an oil and gas professional working in Warri, Delta State, had a work schedule of 2 weeks on and 1 week off. Though his job was demanding, he remained deeply committed to God. When he approached Bonita that day, it wasn't with romantic intentions. Following Deeper Life culture, he simply exchanged pleasantries, admired her dedication, and asked for her contact so they could share in the things of God. From there, they began occasional conversations on WhatsApp. The chats were never flirtatious, always revolving around scripture discussions, testimonies from fellowship, and prayer points. If one was discouraged, the other would share a verse of encouragement. Over time, a mutual respect and friendship began to grow between them, though nothing about marriage was ever mentioned. Bonita didn't know that these casual yet spiritually meaningful conversations would later become the center of a controversy that would test her faith, her trust in church leadership, and even her hope for marriage. Deeper Life Marriage Committee Process. For those outside Deeper Life Bible Church, the marriage process might seem unusual, even strict. But within the church, it is deeply rooted in a belief that marriage is not a casual choice but a divine assignment. The rules are clear and non-negotiable. Step 1. A brother who senses God's leading towards a particular sister must first go to the marriage committee, not the sister herself. He is not allowed to hint, suggest, or directly express his feelings. This is meant to ensure the sister prays without bias. Step 2. Once the brother informs the committee, they will pray, and then reach out to the sister. They will invite the sister privately, inform her that a brother has expressed interest, and advise her to take time to pray about it. Step 3. The sister must return with a clear conviction, either a yes or no, based on what she believes God has told her. If she says yes, the committee proceeds with marriage counseling and courtship guidelines. Within this system, there is one unspoken but well-known expectation: no private discussions about romance before committee approval. No, I like you, no, you are the one I've been praying for, and certainly no emotional bonding that might cloud spiritual judgment. Osaze approaches the marriage committee. By this point, Brother Osaze had been quietly admiring Benita for months. He had prayed extensively, fasting on some days, asking God for signs, and seeking counsel from his spiritual mentors. The conviction was strong in his heart: Benita is the one. Following church protocol, Osaze approached the marriage committee in the Edo State headquarters. He shared his conviction, the scriptures God had impressed on his heart, and his willingness to go through the process in full obedience. What Osaze did not know was that, just weeks earlier, another brother, Brother Emmanuel, a well-known prayer warrior in the state, had also approached the same committee about Bonita. Emmanuel's reputation was solid. He was respected, deeply spiritual, and often led all-night prayers. To the committee, this was unusual but not unheard of, two brothers feeling led to the same sister. Their role now was to guide Bonita to prayerfully discern who, if any, was truly God's choice. Bonita's prayer and choice. One Saturday afternoon, Bonita received a formal invitation from the marriage committee to meet privately. She arrived with curiosity, wondering what the meeting was about. Inside the small office, the committee secretary greeted her warmly but wasted no time. "Sister Bonita, there are two brothers who have approached us seeking your hand in marriage. Your duty now is to pray sincerely and ask God for his will." Bonita was surprised. She had not been expecting this, but her heart immediately leaned toward one name, Osaze. She didn't want to rush, though. Over the next 2 weeks, she dedicated time daily to prayer, fasting on certain days. By the end of that period, she felt a deep peace about choosing Osaze. She went back to the committee and said confidently, "I am convinced the will of God for me is Brother Osaze." The chairman leaned forward, looking her in the eye. "Are you sure, Sister Benita? Pray again. Two brothers are involved here, and we want to be certain you are not choosing based on human preference." Benita went back again, prayed, and returned with the same answer, Osaze. The disqualification. The next step was to meet with both brothers separately for questioning. The committee's goal was to ensure there had been no emotional entanglement that might have influenced the prayers. Committee interrogation. When Osaze was called in, he was asked direct questions. "Have you had any prior arrangements or agreements with Sister Bonita before coming to us?" He replied honestly, "No, sir. We have only spoken on phone and WhatsApp about spiritual matters, prayers, Bible study discussions, and encouragement." The room went quiet for a moment. Then one of the elders spoke. "So you already had her number and were in communication before coming to us?" "Yes, sir," Osaze replied, not sensing any problem with that fact. But to the committee, this was a red flag. They believed that even such communication, though not romantic, could build emotional closeness and bias the mind during prayer. When Bonita was called in, she was asked the same question. She admitted they had been chatting occasionally but insisted the conversations were not sinful and contained no romantic undertones. Case closed. The committee deliberated and came back with their decision. They explained to both parties that this prior communication might have made them emotionally attached before seeking God's will, which they saw as spiritually risky. The file on Bonita and Osaze's case was closed. "You will both need to go and pray afresh," the chairman said. We cannot proceed with a match where initial feelings may have clouded divine guidance. For Osaze, the verdict was disappointing, but he respected the process, resolving to seek God again. For Bonita, however, it was a deep blow. She felt heartbroken, not only because the man she believed was God's choice had been taken away from her by a technicality, but also because it seemed like human rules had overridden divine conviction. That day, as she left the committee's office, she quietly told herself, "I will never marry from this church again." Emotional fallout. The day after the decision, Benita sat alone in her NYSC lodge in Benin City. Her phone screen lit up with Osaze's name. For a moment, she considered ignoring the call, not out of anger towards him, but because she didn't know what to say. When she finally picked up, Osaze's tone was calm and steady. "Sister Bonita, I want you to know I hold nothing against you. I still believe you're a woman of God, and I trust that the Lord is in control, even in this situation. Let's both keep praying." Bonita forced a faint smile, but tears rolled down her cheeks. She had prayed. She had fasted. She had been sure. And now, because of prior phone calls that were purely spiritual in nature, her conviction was being treated as clouded. That week, she noticed a change in her attitude towards the church leadership. She still attended fellowship, but the warmth she once felt when seeing committee members was gone. She struggled with a growing sense of mistrust. By the next month, she confided in a close friend. "I have made up my mind. I will never marry from this church again. I cannot put my future in the hands of people who can dismiss God's leading over a technicality." Lingering questions. Bonita's decision sparked conversations among her friends and fellow corpers. Some agreed with her, wondering aloud if the marriage committee might have unknowingly stood in the way of a genuine God-ordained marriage. Others defended the system, pointing out that the rules were in place to protect people from making decisions based purely on emotions. Yet, deep down, Bonita kept wrestling with nagging thoughts. If God truly spoke to me, can human rules overrule his voice? If our conversations were about the Bible and prayer, is that really the same as catching feelings? Shouldn't the maturity and purity of intention of both people be considered over rigid technicalities? These questions didn't have easy answers. Even Osaze, though quieter in his reflections, wondered if perhaps the committee's caution was excessive in this case. He respected the church system but couldn't shake off the possibility that the caution might have been misapplied. Moral questions. Bonita's story is not simply about a broken relationship, it's about a deeper tension that exists in many faith communities, the balance between church structure and individual spiritual conviction. The Deeper Life Marriage Committee system was designed to uphold holiness, avoid emotional manipulation, and ensure both parties were led by God rather than feelings. This is noble. Yet, situations like Benita and Osaze raise difficult but important questions. Can strict rules unintentionally hinder God's will? Even well-intentioned systems can sometimes close doors that God may be opening, especially when those systems apply the same rigid standard to every situation without discernment. Should maturity and purity of intention be given more weight than technicalities? If two people are genuinely committed to holiness and their conversations were God-centered, should that automatically be disqualifying? Is there a need for review of marriage committee procedures? Could the church benefit from reassessing certain policies, especially in a generation where digital communication is part of everyday life? Rules are important for order, but they must always serve the higher purpose of facilitating God's will, not replacing it. While human systems may sometimes fail, God's plan never fails. For Bonita, this experience left scars, but also a deeper awareness that her ultimate trust must be in God's leading, even above the decisions of respected human authorities. What are your thoughts on Sister Bonita's broken relationship and final decision? Share your thoughts on the comment section below. If you have been blessed by the above story, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like and share this video. Thank you for watching. See you in our next story.